Follow 2010 politics, you'll know that in Pennsylvania there is a very contested race for the Democratic primary. This is for the incumbent Senator Arlen Specter against his challenger, Representative Joe Sestak. Tonight, those two gentlemen hold a debate, a 2-hour-long debate that will take place in Philadelphia. And joining us to give us some context of this event is Tom Fitzgerald, reports for the Philadelphia Inquirer. He's their political writer. Mr. Fitzgerald, talk a little bit about the risk for both of these gentlemen in going into tonight's debate.
Hi, Pedro. I'd say most of the risk seems to lie with Senator Specter, because he's the incumbent. In fact, he has resisted invitations for a lot of other debates. This is like a one-shot debate that's going to be going on during a Phillies-Mets game. And really, Sestak has nothing to lose in this case, because he has to get some numbers moving. Specter, by all accounts, has a lead. Different polls suggest it might be shrinking, but Sestak, despite the fact that Specter's a 30-year incumbent with the odor of the Beltway on him, and switched parties to boot, Sestak has not really been able to overtake him yet, as far as we can tell.
As far as polling for both of these gentlemen, how does it look as it stands right now?
Well, there's actually been a gap in the public polling right now when we need it most, because TV, it looks like Specter has anything from an 8-point to a 15-point lead in the head-to-head, but there's still a decent slice of people who don't know enough about Sestak, and excuse me, fairly low overall re-elect numbers for Specter. Maybe a third of people say he deserves another term, a 6th term, in most of the public polls. But then on the other hand, there's contradictory data, and in one of the better polls, Quinnipiac University, for a long time, Specter has had excellent positive to negative ratings among Democrats, and it's a closed primary, so he appears to have been accepted by his new party, and he definitely has the party apparatus who will be important in getting out the vote, mobilizing whatever turnout there will be for the midterm.
You talked about the ads running, and one of the stories that have been going out as far as Mr. Specter is concerned is talking about Mr. Sestak and his military career. Can you expand on that?
Sure. Mr. Sestak had a stellar Navy career. I mean, he retired as a rear admiral, and he served in the White House. He was defense policy director for Clinton's NSC, had a couple of Pentagon posts, and the controversy comes from his last job in the Pentagon. He was deputy chief of naval operations for warfare requirements, I believe it's called, which is a position that plans strategy for warfare and helps set the size of the fleet. And he performed that job, and then a new chief of naval operations, Admiral Mullen, who's now Joint Chiefs Chairman, on the first day demoted him from that position. And there were reports based on unnamed Pentagon sources in the Navy Times, this was in 2005, that he had created a poor command climate. And he was, it's been, other people have confirmed to us and other media that he was quite the driven boss, shall we say, that even in the Type A environment of the Pentagon, he was a little bit toward the right end of the bell curve. And that sort of has followed him since, and that's what Specter attacked, and was saying he was relieved of duty, and the way Sestak has not been able to refute that factually. He won't disclose any documents from the Navy time that might say whether or not that was true, such as performance reviews. However, the way the ad is worded, it makes it sound as if he was kicked out of the Navy entirely, or maybe he was drunk and ran his ship aground or something, like the Exxon Valdez captain, some years back.
How has Mr. Sestak responded in his ads then to Mr. Specter? What's been his strategy?
His strategy has been to invoke swift boating, the infamous attacks on John Kerry's military service in 2004. Of course, there's a vast difference. I mean, in those attacks, people were accused of Kerry of having made up his military exploits in Vietnam to get medals and other assorted things, much more serious than, having a disagreement with a new boss and on management style. So he's been very defensive about it, and his latest ad has groups of veterans saying, he's repeating the high points of his career and saying, one of them says, tell Arlen Specter to stop lying about Admiral Sestak's record. And then they all say, we have only one thing to say to Admiral Sestak, and they all salute. So it's just been a kind of a response of tactics, like attacking Specter's tactics. And they feel that on the Sestak campaign, they feel that this will remind Democratic voters that there'll be a backlash. They're counting on a backlash that will remind Democrats of things they don't like about Specter. Specter has been battling them for 30 years, their party for 30 years, and he's known as a really, really intense campaigner who's good at using negative ads. He's famous for nuking opponents.
Tom Fitzgerald is a political writer for the Philadelphia Inquirer and has been joining us to talk about tonight's debate between Mr. Specter and Mr. Sestak. Mr. Fitzgerald, thanks for your time.
My pleasure, Pedro.
Even though the debate takes place tonight, we bring it to you tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, part of our Campaign 2010 coverage, and that's the Pennsylvania Senate race, the Democratic primary debate tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. We thank you on the lines for waiting as we go back to our